Tonight on The John Ankerberg Show, do the Old Testament Messianic prophecies point to Jesus or to somebody else? You will hear an Orthodox Jewish scholar and an evangelical Christian scholar debate this question. Our first guest representing Orthodox Judaism is Dr. Pinchas Lapid. He is one of only 4 Orthodox Jewish theologians in the world who are also professors and scholars of the New Testament. John's second guest is Dr. Walter Kaiser, professor of Old Testament and Semitic languages and academic dean of Trinity Evangelical Divinity School. Tonight's discussion will center around such questions as, did God tell Abraham that out of his seed one would come who would bless all the nations of the world? Did God swear an oath to David that one of his descendants would have a kingdom that would last forever? Did Micah predict the Messiah would be born in the little town of Bethlehem? Did Isaiah predict that the Messiah would be rejected by his own people, that he would be wounded and bruised, that he would be violently killed, and that he would be buried in a rich man's tomb? Where do the scriptures say that God would consider the Messiah's death a sacrifice for the sins of all people? That after his death and burial, the Messiah would somehow come back to life? Did Daniel give the exact time the Messiah would appear on the earth? Did Malachi prophesy that the Messiah had to appear before the destruction of the temple and the city of Jerusalem? Did God say that the Messiah could only come forth from the line of Abraham, the line of the tribe of Judah, and the line of David? Both of our guests agree that there are at least 458 messianic prophecies in the Old Testament. Please join us tonight as we examine whether they could only be pointing to Jesus of Nazareth or to somebody else.
Welcome. We're so glad that you joined us tonight. We have 2 distinguished scholars on our program. First, Dr. Pinchas Lapid, who is an Orthodox Jewish theologian who is one of only 4 Jewish scholars of the New Testament in the world today. And along with him is Dr. Walter Kaiser, Dean of Trinity Seminary in Deerfield, Illinois, and he's also a professor of Semitic languages and of the Hebrew Scriptures. Now, we have been trying to put this program together for 3 years of time. And gentlemen, I am really glad that you're here and we're able to do this. The topic that we want to discuss, do the Hebrew Scriptures, do the Messianic prophecies in the Hebrew Scriptures point to Jesus or to somebody else? Let's get down to it. What is the evidence, one way or the other? We've tried to put this program together for 3 years of time, and I'd like you to know why. First of all, Dr. Lapid, you're very courageous to come on our program today. We have invited 3 Orthodox Jewish rabbis inside the United States. For the last 3 years of time, they've all said they would come. And unfortunately, in our society today, there are a lot of pressures. And as we started to come toward the deadline of doing the program, they had to decline because of pressures that were put upon them. Some of them received hate mail. Some of them received threats, unfortunately. And so we've asked you to come all the way from Germany to be with us, and I'm glad that you did. And in saying that, many times in this kind of a program, both sides are pleasant and happy and all that, but we don't get down to the issues. I hope that you will feel that you're among friends, and Dr. Kaiser, that you will feel that you're among friends, and that you'll talk like we've known each other for 100 years. At the same time, let's get right down to what the Jewish community and what the Christian community really have in their heart. What do you fellows really have in your heart? I want you to say it nice, but say it so that we get right down to it. Now, Dr. Kaiser, I'm going to come to you for the first 4 minutes because I find in the evangelical Christian community, many people don't even know what the case is, what the prophecies are. Is there a case there? And we believe the Scriptures are the inerrant Word of God, that it does say something, but it's got to say something to the people it was written to. I would like for you to start us off, give us an outline, give us a case that we can start with, and then I'm going to ask Dr. Lapid that you would respond to what he says. We'll give you both about 4 minutes of time. Take it from there.
Well, thank you, John. It's a delight to speak on this because so many evangelical Christians, I think, don't realize the real case that is there. The Messiah, or the doctrine of the Messiah, is not something that's on the side. It's central. It's what the whole Tanakh, the whole Old Testament, is all about. Here's 77%, over 3/4 of the whole of what Christians consider to be their Bible, but they have neglected. And the case, I think, is a marvelous one. It starts already at the very beginning of the Torah, from the first 5 books of Moses, and marches all the way through the biblical text. If I were to highlight it, I would say that it begins already with Genesis 3:15, the seed of the woman, and God there promises, in a surprising move to Eve, already in the Garden of Eden, if I understand it, that here there is to come a descendant, a male descendant, the wonder of wonders, from the woman's line and from her race, and that within this context, there would come a crushing blow to evil. So
let me just read the verse quickly for you, okay?
Go ahead.
I will put enmity between you and the woman, between your seed and her seed. He shall bruise you on the head, and you shall bruise him on the heel. Genesis 3:15.
Right, that's the same Bible we both use there.
Okay.
Yes. So then we move to Genesis 12, and I think the case to Abraham. God selects one man and tells him that indeed not only the Messiah, but you see it's a larger case than this. It involves the whole land issue, which is just as abiding and as eternal as is the promise of Messiah. We're in a context today in which we have seen a marvelous fulfillment, I think, or at least all of the components are on the scene for the fulfillment of Israel being restored to her own land. That was just as eternal as is the promise about the Messiah. And the two are linked together. I can't pull one apart and say, well, the Messianic, the spiritual, internal salvation is deeper, but and that is eternal, but the one about the land is not. They're locked together. So that becomes the second great moment in history itself. That's when God called Abraham out of the land of Ur, the Chaldees, and then gives him this word. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you. I will make your name great. And then I take it as a purpose, a result clause here, so that you may be a blessing. And I'll bless those that bless you. And whoever curses you, I will curse. Even all the peoples on the earth will be blessed through you. And I take it that the Niphal form there, it is a passive. You will be blessed. And it comes as a gift that God is going to give. But who are all the peoples? The list of nations just set out in Genesis chapter 10. So again, from the Jewish heritage, there is a gift that is to be dispersed by the living God for all the nations upon the face of the earth. I would say that's the second great moment. And the third one is in 2 Samuel 7, when God repeats the same word, enlarges it to David. And there, David wants to build a house for God, and God said, no, for reasons I will tell you I don't wish you to do it, but I'll make a house out of you. I'll make a dynasty and a kingdom and a throne out of you, and your son will be my son, and that I will be a father to him, and he will be my son. This is an amazing word because it blows David's mind. He goes in and sits down in the house of God, and he said, who am I? And what is my family that you've done all this for me? And then David shows his awareness that this is to be for a great while to come. He said, and not only are you doing this now, but this is for everlasting. And that this should be the charter, the Torah, Adam, this should be the law for all of mankind. He can't believe it, nor can the translations. Most of the translators say the Hebrew is very difficult here. But I have given it to